Hello, Glastonbury. Welcome to the Pilton Palais and today's screening of Dune Part 2. We are going to get to the film in just a little while, but before that, we have a very special treat for you. Please welcome Princess Irulan herself. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Florence Pugh. Oh my goodness. Hello.
Hi.
How are you doing? You're looking very Glastonbury.
Thank you. I put some flowers in my hair.
That's the way to do it.
This is my first time, and it's so amazing to be here.
That's awesome. I felt like you were a Glastonbury girl. You've got the vibe. I don't know.
No, I've never been.
Wow,
This is the first time.
And you weren't tempted to wear a chainmail headdress?
I was close with Midsommar, so I'm channeling that.
Yeah. You're not planning any sacrifices while
No,
you're here, are you?
you guys are fine. Don't worry. No sacrifices will happen in this tent. All right.
Okay, well, odd note to start off, but that's all good.
Taking note.
So listen, we're going to talk about Dune 2 a bit. So tell me your relationship with this. Had you seen the first movie? Had you read the book? You know, what was the setup when they called you, I guess, about this?
I hadn't read the book. I had seen the first movie. Like everyone around the world was completely blown away by this world that had been created. And then the idea of being in a second was just, I literally raced to my team. I was like, if this is happening, please can I have some opportunity? So yeah, to be a part of the second was just insane. I mean, everybody watched that first movie and was completely jaw-dropped. It was incredible.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
And you obviously knew Timothée from working with him on Little Women.
Yeah.
So did you have a word in the back, like, hey?
No. Timmy, get me a job. No, that was just an obvious added bonus. It's so wonderful getting to work with someone when you're both babies, and then a few years later you get to see your friend lead and be this star, this rock star of this movie, and he really, really led that movie in the same way that his character does in the story, and it was just a really, really touching thing to share and just watch him.
Yeah, that's something that people talked a lot about on the first movie. This idea of him kind of stepping up to number one on the call sheet, and did it feel like he was there this time, like he knew what he was doing, he was very kind of comfortable in that?
I also just think it's like in terms of walks of life, like when we both did Little Women together, we were both bubbers, and I think both, I mean, still now, but very, very grateful to be in any space at any time. And so to see him be a part of that movie and come back for a second, he was so gracious and calm and focused, and it genuinely just like, whenever you see your friends succeed, it's the most beautiful thing, and he really, really took that and ran with it.
Yeah. So tell me about Irulan herself. What was your kind of way into her character? What was the thing that you kind of glommed onto in the books?
I think, bizarrely, unlike any other character that I've played, I'm usually leaning towards very opinionated, gobby women, because I am one. And with this one, she is very quiet and very calculated, and she is plotting and is a part of the story without herself knowing it. And there was something that was very quietly scary that I really, really loved about her. And I think when I read the script, it never really ended on a specific beat. It was like, when I read it a second time, I could clock just how much a part of the story that she was in without knowing it at first read. And that was very, very exciting for me. And also to know that there is a ... and what's gonna happen.
I mean, were there any conversations with Denis about Dune Messiah? Like, we know he wants to make a third film. We know he wants to give it a bit of breathing space first, and kind of, he wants to go off and do other things. I'm sure all the rest of you also want to go off and experience other things. But was there any kind of sense of he has a plan? He has that roadmap for him?
I mean, I'm sure, but Denis is the most fabulous, bonkers man, and he's so not the person that you'd assume to direct this movie. He's the most gorgeous, caring, silly person on set, and then suddenly he'll come up to you and be like, okay, but Florence, "You are a princess," and I'm like, "I got it. I got the note. I'm a princess." So I don't know. I don't know if there were any hints of what's next, but you're there for the ride. Like every single crew member was just so gassed to work with him. And I remember my first day on set, I went to go and visit Timmy and Zendaya. They were doing a scene, and crew members just came up to me and said, "You're so lucky to be working with Denis." And they'd been working with him on the first movie, and just to have crew, I mean, just to explain a little bit of like how we jump from job to job, everybody has a new crew every single film that you do. So to have a director that specifically keeps his crew and the crew love to work with him was just such a beautiful thing to walk onto. And that was my first day and I wasn't even working. So it genuinely, even if that was the standalone for me and for anyone, we were always so grateful to make movies in the way that Denis wants to make movies.
And this obviously is the adaptation of a book that is beloved around the world. I know, like, if I did a set visit on the first one, I had like family members calling me up, excited just to hear about a set visit. Do you know what I mean? Did you have people basically saying, don't screw this up for me? Like, this is important. Like, did you have anybody like that in your life?
Yeah, I did. My best friend, her boyfriend, who I'd only met a couple of times, found out that I was in it, and he sat me down at a party, and he was like, "You don't understand. You don't understand." I was like, "I'm trying to, teach me." And Alex then went through the whole plot, and he was like, "I've read this book so many times." Essentially, you can't fuck it up. But yeah, no, there's obviously so many people that book meant so much to, and it's an old standing classic.
It is the Lord of the Rings of sci-fi. Like, it's massive. So you didn't have to learn 10,000 years of history though to do it, right? Because that exists.
No, I didn't have to learn 10,000 years of history. That's just for Timmy.
I wanted to ask also just about the experience of filming, right? Because it seems to me, and no spoilers if there are three of you in the room who haven't seen the film yet, but it seems to me that you didn't spend a lot of time in the desert, that you were in a lovely Italian garden. Is that correct?
I'm a princess. Sadly, though, no. And actually, here's a funny story. Everybody was going to all the most amazing deserts around the world right after I finished shooting. And there was a portion of time where I was taking Denis aside. Well, I took the producers aside first, and I was like, "Guys, what if we do a similar thing that you did with Zendaya in the first movie, but I'm walking through the desert wearing chainmail? How do we like that?" And they were like, "Yeah, okay." Chat to Denis about it. Spoke to Denis, and Denis was like, "Absolutely not. Doesn't make any sense." I was like, "Please." So I really, really did want to go, but sadly, the chainmail would have got too hot.
Yeah, it's not the best look, I suppose, for the desert, but it's pretty cool otherwise. I mean, how comfortable or not was it on set? Was it a nightmare?
It was very comfortable, and the costumes were just absolutely insane. I don't know about you, but when I watched the first movie, watching Lady Jessica come out of pretty much any vehicle, I was like, wow. The headdresses were just insane. And so when I read the script, and I just knew that I was going to have a treat on my hands. But the chainmail was pretty easy, actually. Very cold in the morning at 5 a.m. when I got to work. Very chilly, but it was lovely. It was fine. I did have to take naps, though, every now and then, because it was quite heavy. So I just lie on set like this.
Just relax. I guess it's like a weighted blanket, in a way. It's a medieval weighted blanket.
It's chainmail. Yeah. It's heavy. It's metal. I'd just be very still when I was wearing it.
So many of your scenes are with either Christopher Walken, who plays the Emperor, your father, or with Charlotte Gainsbourg, who plays the head of the Bene Gesserit. On a scale of 1 to Meryl Streep, how intimidating was that?
You know what? I've been so fortunate and lucky to work with some of the most unbelievable talents throughout my career, and I've always been pinching myself, and I've always just taken it as like, okay, well, you have an opportunity to learn. Swallow your nerves, swallow the fact that you've seen them every single time you put on a movie, and just try and learn as much as possible from them. And so, like, that's the best thing about working with greats. They're great for a reason. It's because not only are they brilliant, but they are so magical on set. The way that they treat people, the way that they treat crew, the way that they hold themselves, that's what makes them magic. That's why we love watching them, is because they truly are beaming at the seams, even when they're not on camera. So then when you get to work with people that we've been watching since, I was like 8, 7, it's just an opportunity to learn. And yeah, I had some amazing days with Christopher, and he is, he's a sparkle. He's truly just a beautiful and bonkers man, and he's so brilliant. Like, the amount of people that I work with that fluff a line, and it's absolutely normal and absolutely makes sense, at no point did he ever, ever, ever fuck up anything. Like, and we were doing long days, and he was always on his mark, always on cue, always knew exactly what he was going to say. And the ways that he would say lines are like, I would read the script and assume that that's how someone is going to say a line, and he would have completely different intonations that is just fascinating to watch. And you write it down, you go, okay, I'm going to try and do things like Christopher.
He has a particular cadence, though, that I feel like from normal people.
And even that, he shocked me.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah. And how about Charlotte as well? Is she intimidating? I walked past her once and I was intimidated just by the way she walked.
She's a very proud woman. She's great, though. No bullshit with her. She's absolutely fantastic to be around. Also, just being around really, really strong women in this industry is so... It's like osmosis. You're like, okay, I need to do what you're doing. She was brilliant. And again, when we started shooting, we were in Italy, and I was suddenly really, really ill. And I remember at the end of a day, she was like, you need to go home, darling, and you need to sleep. And I was like, done. Whatever you say, Captain.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Sorry, ma'am. Okay, so you've done just recently, you've done sci-fi, you've done kind of action, I guess, in Thunderbolts, you've done romance in We Live in Time. What's next? What can you possibly do now? Apart from, dance here in Glastonbury for a couple
I'm going to do lots of dancing here at Glastonbury. What is next? I just finished my second Marvel movie, which was pretty huge. I literally wrapped like 5 days ago, so I'm feeling pretty spacey. But that was amazing. What's next? I think a tiny bit of a break. I think I need to do some dancing, and I need to do some hugging with friends, and I just need to just enjoy. My dad always says, make sure you make time to smell the roses, and I'm very bad at that. So this is my... There you go, got the roses on my head. This is my time to smell the roses, so I'm just gonna sit for a second.
Yeah. Refuel the tank.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Get some experiences.
Exactly. Have we got any questions out there among you?
Hi, I'm an acting student myself, so I sort of know that everything you sort of do, you take a sort of lesson from it with sort of shows and stuff. Is there anything specific from this film that you've taken with stuff going forward, like maybe like filming Thunderbolts or whatever in the future?
I think with a movie this big and this much of a beast, it was just really important for me to be... I know this is going to sound really cliche, but it doesn't really happen, but to be really unbelievably present. Like, the set that I was walking onto every single day and feeling lucky that I was even in the second one, it just made me feel very aware that I need to like mentally record everything, because this was such a unique and special experience, and just to really not let that just become normal, like genuinely just take it in and watch and learn from everyone. Like, I'm always learning about the crew. I'm always learning new jobs and how they do it. And I think especially on a movie of this size and seeing the brain that it came from, it was just so important for me to be a part of the flow and just to completely be grateful. Another cliche, but true and needed, and needs to be reminding. But truly just always eyes peeled and always be ready to learn new things, even if you're bored and you're waiting for something. Like, ask what the boom operator does, and ask what the clapperboard guy does, and ask how they rigged that light. It's just so fascinating, the world that we get to work in, and there are thousands of people that make that day work. And I think for me, when I watched the movie the first time, when the credits rolled, the sheer amount of names and the fact that Hans like basically scored an entire song just for the people that made the movie, it made me cry. I was like, this is exactly the respect that everybody needs to feel when they make magical things. So that was that. Thank you.
Thank you.
What would you say is the most difficult role you've ever played?
Oof. Probably Danny from Midsommar. it was amazing and like an incredible experience, truly. And that was another one of those like, holy shit, I'm making this kind of movie with this kind of genius. But it was hard. It was really hard, and it was working with so many different elements, and it was bloody hot every single day. And I know that like hot is hot, but Jesus, it was hot. We all used to have like 7 sets of shirts because we would sweat through them in half an hour. And so, I mean, imagine doing the kind of stuff that we were doing for hours. It was just a lot. I had to firmly have a G&T at the end of the day and be like, whoa. That was definitely the hardest, but I learned so much on it, and I came away feeling like I was a better performer, and I had tapped into a new part of what I could do. And I felt like the actors that I was working amongst, we've got like a solid family because of it. And I came away from that movie going like, I want to do that as hard as it was again and again and again, because it was so real and so the right kind of thing that I want to do.
If any of you out there haven't seen Midsummer, it's like a really twisted Glastonbury. It's amazing. Obviously you have, because you're
Don't watch it now.
Not right now. Not right
You'll
here.
come out terrified.
We had a question right in the middle. Okay, can you pass your mic back just to this gentleman in the pale blue?
If you could have any other job on the film set, bearing in mind you're an actor and there's a lot of technicians and other roles, what would you take?
Costume.
You're talking to a boom operator.
Oh, yay! Hey, you. How you doing? Costume. I'd be into costume. I'm so excited. Like, that's for me, whenever I have a character and I prep for it, the last final touches that I really feel stepping into is costume, and I know how much it means to every single actor. And just living in that body that someone has spent hours making for you. And they start thinking about your character before you even start thinking about it. So I think I would be in the costume department. It's a hard department, but I'd definitely be part of that.
This is sort of a similar question, but have you ever considered directing or producing or writing a film of your own?
Yeah, no, that's definitely been something that I accidentally gravitate towards pretty much on I think when you know that you like things a certain way, you do that naturally, whether it's to do with your character or maybe how things could be changed in a scene, and I'm definitely someone that would love to do that. I do, however, think that being a director and being a producer requires a lot of education, and I really want to do it when I know. And I've learned enough. Like, it's a huge responsibility to guide people, and you have to remove your ego, and you have to help people and cradle people and hold the story at the same time. There's so many hands that you have to hold, and I think for me, I would love to do it. I'm in the process of learning. I am producing at the moment. I'm tiptoeing, but yeah, that's the process that I really don't want to cut corners. I want to make sure that I'm learning properly.
So, ladies and gentlemen, huge thank you, please,
Thank
to
you,
Florence
guys.
Pugh.
It was so lovely to see you and chat to you all.